For more on this story, Michael Gadbaw, professor of law at Georgetown University, joins us at Biz Asia America. Professor, welcome.
Thank you.
This is a fascinating case. The government says the S&P misrepresented the risk because it wanted more business from the banks. Let's just start with that initial statement. Do you agree that that is true?
Well, it's very true that S&P was competing with the other rating agencies, principally Moody's and Fitch, to get business from the investment banks that were issuing these mortgage-backed securities that depended on the ratings that S&P or Fitch or Moody's would give.
And for our viewers around the world, basically the ratings agency gives a grade to all these bonds. And if you give a grade A, it's easier to sell the bonds to, whether it's institutions or individuals. Exactly. S&P has responded, the company has responded and said the government also failed to predict the subprime mortgage crisis. And I'll ask you the same question. Is that true?
Well, this was a massive failure. This was a failure of the market. This was a failure of regulators. And this was a governmental failure. So there's a lot of blame to go around.
Okay, so both first question is true and the second question is true, where does that put us?
Yeah, so that depends on whether, this goes back to kind of a classic analysis. What did S&P know and when did they know it? So the government is alleging that S&P misrepresented its opinion, its evaluation of these securities, and that it withheld facts that were material to the ratings that they were giving. And they look to, and if you go through quite an extensive complaint, they have gone and obtained a lot of information through emails and texting, where some S&P employees indicated that they actually were misrepresenting their evaluations, even though they knew that they were false.
And we've heard similar complaints and allegations among some of the analysts and some of the salespersons at different large financial institutions. I won't name names, but this isn't the first time. So that leads us to my next question, which is what precedence does this set? Because we spoke earlier, and yes, people want justice. People want somebody to blame for this entire financial mess. S&P could be one. But where does it stop? Does it stop with the banks? Does it stop with the banks? Does it stop with the mortgage brokers? Does it perhaps stop with the quasi-government entity of Freddie and Fannie Mae even?
Well, there's certainly lots of precedents for fraud cases. But what's interesting is in the context of this financial crisis, the 2008 financial crisis, there have been very few fraud cases, certainly virtually no criminal fraud cases, and very few, relatively few civil fraud cases. So this would be a major civil fraud case against an institution. But the ratings agencies generally have been able to defend over decades from these kinds of lawsuits.
So through freedom of speech and so on. Let me read you something that Attorney General Eric Holder said at a news conference. He said, "This case is an important step forward in our ongoing efforts to investigate and punish the conduct that is believed to have contributed to the worst economic crisis." Is this about punishment?
Well, I think in the eyes of the administration, it's about punishment.
And is that fair?
And they've been under a lot of pressure to bring to justice companies, individuals that were seen to have acted illegally, fraudulently in precipitating this crisis. So they are under pressure to use our justice system to bring some of those cases.
The U.S. legal system is very complex, and of course we've got you here, so I have to ask you this. What's next? I mean, and help our international audience look, because this is going to take some time. There's investigations, there's document reviews, they're going to go through emails, and I know they've gone through some already. Help us understand what happens next from here.
Well, you've got this drama playing out in a number of different domains. So you have the litigation. There are now justices brought civil cases. There are also 16 attorney generals that have either joined the case or brought their own cases. California and New York bringing their own cases. So you've got a litigation front. You also have the regulatory front. So Dodd-Frank already made changes in the regulatory scheme governing the ratings agencies, and those are playing out as in a rulemaking. And then you have the political front over how much structural change should we be making. So I think we've got a drama playing out here in at least those three different domains into which this case will have a very important role.
Professor, I want to thank you for your time. There's going to be a lot of work for lawyers on both sides, I have a feeling. Thank you.
That's true. Thank you.